You're listening to the Outer Banks This Week podcast, a place for people to hear what's going on up and down the beach and to get the truth about what really goes on around the Outer Banks. So, are you ready? Here we go.
All right, thank you so much, Wes. Outer Banks This Week podcast, all brought to you by Kelly's Automotive in Manio. Kelly's Automotive, he's the used car king of the market here on the Outer Banks. Now he's selling sheds as well. Yeah, you heard me correctly. If it has doors, it can be yours. You can call Kelly or Dakota at 252-473-3807 or check out their inventory online at kellysobxauto.com. Stop by and talk to Kelly just the other day. He's going to be the one that is towing our float, our company float, in the Kelly's St. Patrick's Day Parade. And I made the comment just the other day. I said, it can't be Kelly's parade without Kelly. But anyway, I thought it was funny. But Kelly's Automotive in Manio, again, online at kellysobxauto.com. Speaking of Kelly's parade, Kelly's St. Patrick's Day Parade, we're going to have Mike Kelly and company in here in just a few moments to talk about the parade. He is going to be our special guest on this 55th episode of the podcast. Yeah, the 55th installment. Is that how I should say it, or is it episode? Installment, they're pretty much the same thing, right? Regardless, it's episode number 55. I had a fantastic weekend. Little interesting things that went on. I did the polar plunge this past weekend, and some of you were texting me, wishing me good luck with the polar plunge for the Special Olympics. That was a blast. I made it out in my head to be a lot worse than what it really was going to be. It was, when I got in the water, it was not as cold and not as crazy as I had anticipated. It was breezy. It was overcast. I think the high Saturday was in the mid to upper 50s. It was kind of rainy that afternoon, and it had started sprinkling on us ever so slightly before we jumped in the water right there at Jeanette's Pier for Special Olympics. They raised over $52,000 that day. Over $52,000 was raised to go back to Special Olympics. And I don't know this to be factual, but I was informed that this could potentially have been the largest fundraising effort done for North Carolina Special Olympics in the entire state. Lots of fun people out there. I got to hang out with Commissioner Irvin Bateman out there. And I also got to hang out with Miss Sandy and Jackie and all the athletes and Lisa Brickhouse from the radio station. She did a great job emceeing the event, and with the entire crew. Spencer, he's the director for Dare County Parks and Rec. Definitely had a fun time doing that. And again, it was not as cold as I thought it was going to be. Of course, I didn't stay in the water either. Just truth be told, I jumped in and I jumped out. I did not stick around. And I wore the Carolina Barbecue Company flag on my back, which is to say that I wore one of Mike Weaver's T-shirts from Carolina Barbecue Company. Because if you remember, a couple episodes ago, he said, I'll sponsor you. And he did. He was a man of his word. So thank you, Mike, for sponsoring me to jump in the water for the polar plunge for the Dare County Special Olympics. And I was going to save this for my shout-outs, but I think I'm going to go ahead and do it now. Maybe interested in college basketball like I am. I love college basketball. I love college football, Major League Baseball. Those are like my three top-tier favorite sports. And Carolina beat Duke at Cameron Indoor Stadium this past Saturday night. We had a house full at my brother's house, and we had a great time watching the game and just eating and hanging out. And there was one at my buddy Uncle Ray. He's a Duke fan. He was the lone Duke fan, the rogue Duke fan in the entire group. So he was a good sport about it too. And we weren't ragging him. I mean, that's just not what we'll laugh and be like, man, what just happened there? You know, and he'll, we're not all out straight up hardcore trash talking. That's not how we do things. Not all the time, at least. Anyway, all that being said, it was a good time on Saturday. We did have a little bit of a wind come through on Sunday. And Sunday night into Monday morning after the time change. Now, the time change was one thing, but being woken up by the wind knocking out the power at my house in Wanchese was not what I had in mind for midnight Sunday night into Monday morning, especially since I have to teach a spin class at Roanoke Island Fitness Lab on Monday morning at 5:30 a.m. I had told myself if I was able to get out of teaching, or not having to teach rather, if I didn't have to be at the gym at 5:30 a.m., which, let's be real, I get up at 4, I'm there about 4:30 because I started what's called the 4:30 Club. I probably would have skipped it this morning, being Monday morning, the recording of this podcast. But it was just one of those situations where the power went out. I felt like somebody in my house was going to wake up. Here's the thing. Austin is still my oldest, my 9-year-old. He's still at like this stage where it's dark. He's not afraid of the dark, but it's just eerie for him. So I was waiting for him to wake up and just yell for me down the hall. Then my wife was like, we have a fish tank. She was like, the fish only have 2 hours of oxygen. So I thought, okay, I've always been told that you need to make bubbles for them. So I went to the fish tank, got out of bed, went to the fish tank, took a straw and started making bubbles for the fish. And come to find out, I was talking to Lexi, who works with us here at Outer Banks this week, and she was like, that doesn't do anything. I was always told that it did, though. She's like, no, it's the flow of water, the constant flowing of water, which oxygenates the water or something like that. I thought it was you had to make bubbles for them. She said, no, the bubbles don't do anything. And I was like, oh, well, learn something new. But I did that because the power was out and my wife was worried that the fish were going to die. I could break my leg and be screaming, crying, and she would be like, oh, get up and walk it off. But if a fish dies, my wife comes unglued. she'll turn on the waterworks. Anyway, so then the power came back on, thank the Lord, and it felt like I just closed my eyes, and then my alarm went off. So that's kind of how my week has started, even with the time change. I'm trying to get with it. I don't know what it is. As you get older, it feels like it gets harder to adjust to the time change. And I thought that we were supposed to do away with this whole daylight saving time thing. I thought it was just we were going to spring forward. I thought last year we were supposed to spring forward, and that was going to be it. Is it this year? I don't know how this is going to work anymore because I'm tired of it. Let's just keep the same time all the time. No more daylight saving time. I don't understand the purpose behind it anymore. I do know that years ago it was purposed for the farmers and things of that nature, and I'm not talking negative about farmers, but I don't know that they even operate by daylight saving time anymore. Do they? I guess that's a question for a farmer. I'm sure somebody's going to email me now, which if you want to email me, podcast@outerbanksthisweek.com. I welcome your emails. By the way, like, subscribe, hit the bell, do all those fun things. Give us a 5-star rating. Leave your comments on all the major podcast platform apps. Love to hear them. Love all the love that we get for the podcast. So please do those things. News. Is there anything in the news? Nothing that I can really think of. I do know that they just legalized sports betting in North Carolina, which some people are really into that kind of thing. Me, not so much. I've learned over the years that the minute, if I were to do like a gentleman's bet and say, I bet you that this is going to happen, I tend to do okay. I tend to win more than I lose. But the minute I say, I bet you $20 that this is going to happen, I lose every time. I never win anytime I bet money on things. So sports betting, if that's your thing, that's just got legalized in North Carolina. But for all other news, going over to SamWalkerOBXNews.com, I will have Sam and M on the podcast next week. Really excited about that. They have their own podcast. Very good, very inspirational. They gear it towards helping people and navigating things for people and just being inspirational, glass half full type individuals. Can't say nothing. I don't really know M all that well, but I know Sam fairly well, I feel like. We worked together for a long time, and I think the world of Sam. So I'm really excited to have he and his wife here on the podcast with me next week. So that's something to look forward to, a little foreshadowing there for you. I want to thank Gino for coming in last week and being on the podcast with me in episode 54 from Lost Colony Tavern. Of course, they've got the month of St. Patrick going on over there, and it's definitely a cool vibe when you walk in the door. Just everything about it just radiates awesomeness. So, Gino, thank you for doing that. And Jared. I can't forget about Jared. I feel like I did forget about him last week. Gino and Jared doing fantastic things over at Lost Colony Tavern. So you see Gino, you see Jared, you see the crew over there. Give them a hug. Thank them for all that they do to pour back into the community because, honestly, they pour a lot back in. To Gino and Jared over at Lost Colony Tavern. Oh, our dear buddy, Captain Marty. Yes, Captain Marty, if you haven't already found out, is part of us here at Outer Banks this week. We are putting his fishing reports and his stories on our website. If you go to outerbanksthisweek.com, you can click on the little drop-down menu, and you'll see the blogs, the posts, and all that kind of stuff. You'll see podcasts, and you'll see Captain Marty. You click on that, and you can listen to his latest and greatest fishing report. Also, go like and subscribe to, you just search Captain Marty Brill on Facebook. He's got his own Facebook page, so go and like his page, and you get all the updates of everything we do with Captain Marty here at Outer Banks this week. Talking to Marty, he's tickled to death. He seems to be so happy now that he's joined us here at Outer Banks this week, and we're very happy to have him. So like and subscribe on all of his all the podcast platforms that he's on, because he has his own channel now on Spotify, on Pandora, and all the others. So go like and subscribe, and definitely make sure you leave him a good 5-star rating, because he is the captain of captains. He is Captain Marty. Glad to have him. We're going to jump into some shout-outs. Let's do some shout-outs. Now, again, if you listen to the podcast, you're a regular listener, you stream every week, you wait until it comes out, and you're the one that listens first, like my man Adam. Can't say enough nice things about my man Adam. He's always texting me, letting me know, hey, man, I can tell he's listening to the podcast. So Adam, you're my first shout-out, because you are one of what we called in the radio biz P1 listeners. You were a P1 listener every week when the podcast comes out. And I thank you so much, and I appreciate all your texts and everything. Really, really appreciate that. Also, a couple more shout-outs I'm going to do. I want to shout out to Mr. K. Mr. K, he is a teacher. He said he's the 8th grade history teacher at Mania Middle School. Mr. K, I met him sitting at Stripers the other day, and we've been Facebook friends, and we've chatted on Facebook before about some different things, and he introduced himself. We talked. Super nice guy. And I told him, I said, you have some big shoes to fill over at Mania Middle School, talking about William K. Brown, a.k.a. Billy Brown, the old history teacher for the 8th grade at Mania Middle School. And he wasn't too familiar. He didn't seem with him, but I told him, I said, you talk to these people like Kelsey Oglesby and some of the others over there, that Levi Curls and some of them that may remember Mr. Brown, and he'll get educated on him real quick. So Mr. K, hey, thank you for listening to the podcast. And it's really good to meet you this past week at Stripers. Let's see here. Oh, Mr. Pete, I don't want to say his name the wrong way. Mr. Pete Reicheld? Let me read his email real quick. Let me see. Mr. Pete emailed in to the podcast. He said, hey, Justin, I've been listening to the OBX podcast for a while now from Hawaii. I'm considering moving somewhere on the Outer Banks sometime soon to be closer to family on the East Coast. I'm a teacher and would continue to teach there, so I was wondering if you'd be able to bring a teacher friend on the podcast to talk a little bit more about the school systems on the OBX and what their experience has been like. Thanks, Pete. Pete, you've given me a great idea, and I have a lot of teacher friends, a lot of board members on the Board of Education here, the superintendent. I got a lot of good friends in the school system here in Dare County and on the Outer Banks, Dare County. And I'm willing to look into this a little bit more. I'm willing to look into having a teacher come in and talk on the podcast in regards to how life is here on the Outer Banks and the school systems and things of that nature. So that's something, Mr. Pete, I will look into. But Mr. Pete Reicheld, I hope I'm saying your last name right. I'm good at screwing things up, as y'all probably already know. Thank you for your email, and let's stay in touch. We'll talk more about that one. Also, real quick, before we bring in our guest, Mr. Mike Kelly, to talk about the Kelly St. Patrick's Day Parade, got a shout out to my UNC Tar Heels basketball team. Yes, beating up on Duke was just the cherry on top of a wonderful season. They won the ACC outright. Love me some Hubert Davis. Love me some Armando Bacot. Just a great bounce back season from last year. So I got a shout out to my UNC Tar Heels basketball team. If you're a listener to the podcast, I would like to give you a shout out. Email me, podcast@outerbanksthisweek.com. Podcast@outerbanksthisweek.com. Going to kick it on over to Mr. Mike Kelly and talk about the parade here in just a few moments. But first, Saltbox Cafe in Collington Harbor. We're going to hear from them. I have yet to have this Sunday brunch. They also posted a picture up the other day of, was it National Women's Day or International Women's Day or something to that effect? And it was all the ladies that work at Saltbox Cafe. And I happened to notice my 2nd grade teacher works at Saltbox, which we've talked about before, yes, with them over at the Saltbox Cafe with Amanda and Randolph. But I just saw her picture and I was like, she still looks the same as she did 20 some odd years ago, or wait a minute, more like 30 some years ago. Still looks good though. Miss Chris Seal, you're still beautiful. All right, Saltbox Cafe in Collington.
For an array of tasty eats featuring local seafood, fresh meats, and produce, Make your way to the Saltbox Cafe in Collington. Chefs and owners, Randolph and Amanda Sprinkle, invite you to enjoy an award-winning Sunday brunch, as well as lunch and dinner, 6 days a week at their charming cottage-style restaurant just a short trip down Collington Road. To see their menu and list of events, visit them online at thesaltboxcafe.com. Complement your Outer Banks stay with a trip to the Saltbox Cafe.
All right, as promised, I'm sitting here with Mr. Mike Kelly and Miss Marianne from the Kelly St. Patrick's Day Parade. How are y'all today?
Just right.
Excellent.
Excellent. Well, I'm glad that y'all are here. Now, the parade is this Sunday, Sunday being March the 17th, starts at 1 o'clock in the afternoon in Nags Head. And this is, 33 years? 33 years. So let's talk a little bit about Mr. Mike Kelly. I kind of want to bring you in right out the gate here. You have been an entrepreneur here on the Outer Banks for how long? How many years have you been working and having businesses on the Outer Banks?
Having businesses since 1985, been working on the Outer Banks since 1971.
1971, so that's when you got your start on the Outer Banks, and you opened up in 1985. That's when you actually opened Kelly's Outer Banks Restaurant and Tavern. Is that accurate?
Exactly.
Okay, all right. So you've had Kelly's, and then that evolved over the years. You had Kelly's, and that was very successful. I remember when I was a kid, I used to always look forward. I remember the old TV 12, that old, what was it, the Vacation Channel or whatever they called it. I used to would get up like early in the morning, be getting ready for school, and I'd be watching TV, and Coastal Cuisine would come on, and I'd always see, "Hi, I'm Mike Kelly at Kelly's Outer Banks Restaurant and Tavern. Come on in and eat with us tonight for dinner 7 nights a week," something like anyway. And then they would go into just like the backs, you'd see everybody cooking and stuff like that, and I'd just sit there and salivate.
Yeah.
And it was always fun to watch that. But you had Kelly's, okay, now, and you ended up with a few other places throughout the years too, correct?
Yes, sir.
Which let's think about this. You had Kelly's. What were the other ones?
Penguin Isle,
Okay.
which was located down near Wellbone Junction, and that was on the Sound. And then we had Mako Mike's, which was just adjacent to the Kill Devil Hills Fire Department, and we've did a nice public service job and sold out to the county, and they're putting in a new EMT and a new fire department and everything. It looks great down there.
It does.
And then we also had a restaurant by George. We had bought that, and he called it George's Junction.
Junction.
And we had that for about hurricane. We had a hurricane that caused some roof damage and probably had about $500,000 to $600,000 worth of repair work, and we just opted to make it and put the housing there because it was available, and that worked out.
All right, very nice, very nice. Now, how did you and Miss Marianne get together? Let's talk about how y'all formed this business partnership. Now, you say, Miss Marianne, you and your husband had Lance's. Let's talk about Lance's for a minute, because that was when you said that, I was like, oh my gosh, that was a while back. But tell me how you got here and you and your husband had Lance's and whatnot.
Well, Lance's became from a store that was Sportsman's Exchange prior to that. And he just wanted to branch out into the food industry because so many of the good old boys would come by after work and bring their coolers, and they'd sit around and drink beer. And he said, I think I can market on this.
Okay.
So one thing led to another, and we opened up Lance's in 1985.
Very nice.
And of course, that kind of dissipated throughout the years for one reason or another. And then I needed something to do after that, and I called Mike in January, and knowing that business wasn't much, but he had a need, and I went to work there, and I've been there ever since.
Excellent, excellent. You've been there ever since. Now, 33 years of this parade. What was the original thought process behind this parade, Mr. Kelly?
We had a management meeting in late 80s, probably it was about 88, and we were trying to get something to, my idea was we need to have a parade on the Outer Banks. And so we have one parade a year, and that's at Christmas time in Manio. There are no parades on the Outer Banks themselves. And let's do something that's consistent, and we want to make sure that it blends in. So we reviewed the calendar to try to decide what would be a good time to have it. And we came up on in March because it wasn't quite as cold, it wasn't quite as blowy, it wasn't quite as crowded, and those kind of things. And we wanted to make the parade for Dare County, for the local people. We weren't out there. There's never been any marketing outside of what's happening in Dare County. Nothing getting people coming from Tidewater or anything such as that. They're certainly welcome. We want them, but we started out exactly with the local people. And the other thing is we started out with that worked real good we picked up on it real fast is the children. The children on the Outer Banks just really love it. They love the candy. They love the crowd. They love to see their friends in it and everything such as that. That was 88, and the first parade was in 1990, and it happened to be on a Saturday, and it was a real warm day. It was blowing just like it is today, probably about 15 to 20 miles an hour, but it was very warm. It was coming from the southwest, and it was very warm. And we had a very nice, humble crowd of probably about anywhere from about 800 to about 1,200 people, and that stretched out for a little over a mile. So it wasn't they couldn't hold their hands and go from one end to the other. And the thing actually grew a great deal from there, and we learned a little bit each year. And then we also got other people who got interested in participating. As an example, we have this year, we typically have been having about 80 to 85 units in the parade. And I think this year, Mary Ann said we had 97 just.
I clocked out at 100 this morning.
We clocked out at 100.
Oh, holy smokes.
I mean, we're not clocked out if somebody else wants to participate, but I put 100 down on the roster today.
Oh, wow.
And we'll tell you a few little interesting stories or funny stories that come along the way. This is 100. That is per unit. Say Outer Banks Chevrolet is participating, but they're having 8 to 10 vehicles. Say all of a sudden you have the Jeeps.
Wow.
Jeeps have grown. COVID brought Jeeps to the Outer Banks as many as they've sold, so darn many, and it was hand to mouth. As soon as they got one in, they were selling another. We'll probably have 30 to 50 people, 30 or 40 people.
Well, they said 15.
They said 15.
That's what they say.
But what it is.
That's what they say.
And then when we first started the parade, I remember telling one of the girls that was helping us, and Mary Ann does an excellent job. She's been here for 28 or 29 of the 33 years. She's the central right there at Nags Head Fishing Pier. And just to give people an idea that when we started the parade at Nags Head Fishing Pier, and then we...
Never stops. Phone's always ringing, I know.
And I didn't mean to bring
That's okay.
But we had the parade and had people coming, and I told one of the girls, she said, okay, well, we have another 10 days to the parade. We're going to stop taking people to get lined up to participate and everything. I said, what? She said, we're going to, we don't need to be putting any more people in here and getting everything. I said, all they're doing is walking down the street.
Yeah,
I said,
that's it. That's
like
really
a moving buffet.
Basically.
I said, so basically we started, and I said, no, we're going to have anyone that wants to come in that parade, all they have to do is go down to Dune Street, and they would take a left and get on the beach road and get in line. Now, the bands in certain units we did place in certain areas, but after that, if people were running late or somebody, I will tell you there has not been a parade day when I was at Kelly's that we didn't have 2 or 3 people at the last minute come and say, how do you get in the parade? I said, you go to Dean Street, you take a left, and then you get on the beach road and just get in line and be patient and make sure, and you cannot drink. There's no alcohol allowed in the parade whatsoever.
That's important.
On the side and participating, you can be responsible, but in the parade, there's no drinking whatsoever. And so that's worked out real well. Just to give you an idea, and we do boast the fact that this is the largest event or gathering in northeastern North Carolina.
Oh, wow.
And I'm from Elizabeth City, so I've got that one covered. And that we have anywhere from, depending on weather is the biggest thing. We've only had two really bad rainstorms, and it's rain or shine. We don't have time to begin to get everybody to get. We have at least 1,500 people in the parade, participating, walking up and down. We have between Nags Head Police and the Outer Banks ham operators, we have approximately 50 people in that washing out, helping with security and communication, and we have at least 8,000 to 11,000 people every year participating up and down the road. And we did have 2 years with 2020 and 2021 when COVID in 2020, we did not cancel the parade or postpone the parade until Thursday afternoon of the parade occurring on Sunday. And that was the governor was doing some stricting and buttoning down all across the state of North Carolina. And we felt that we didn't know enough about COVID and enough about, we didn't want to begin to put out people contacting and spreading and what was exactly happening. And then in 2021, we did it. But when we picked it up in 2022, it was bigger than it had ever been. In 2023, it bumped it up another notch, and here it is in 2024. We're very optimistic about what's going to happen and the crowd that we have, the number of people, and it even looks like you're not allowed to do this, but I'll violate this one time, is never check out the weather for the parade until after 12 noon on the Thursday before the parade. And the parade is always on a Sunday. We chose Sunday because it's a day that the most people could get together, that families could didn't have as much conflict with their own personal schedule and everything, and that the children would know what to do and no conflict with schools or anything such as that. So it's always on a Sunday. The question is only, is it the Sunday before St. Patrick's Day, which is March the 17th, or the Sunday after St. Patrick's Day, and that's when you're going to do it. Well, this year, and this happens every 8 or 9 years, we got St. Patrick's Day on Sunday.
That's
so
awesome.
It's the big deal. Okay.
That is super cool. Now, you've been doing this, like you said, for 33 years, 33, what did we say? Did we say annual? Yeah. We'll say annual. The 33rd annual parade. Now, you do some different themes just about every year. Now, what is the theme this year for the parade? Does it have a specific theme to it?
Yes, sir, it does. Marianne, give us, what have you got it written down there?
Okay, this year we're celebrating the maritime history of our county.
Right.
Because we have so much maritime history with boat building and fishing, both commercial and recreational. Mm-hmm. So we're celebrating all the people that enjoy that.
Beautiful.
And the people that work here in that industry, and it's become very big.
That's super cool.
In fact, it was our main industry before tourism.
For a long time, it was, and between that and fishing and everything. Yes, it was.
So we're celebrating that this year.
Excellent. So when you say maritime, do you would you care to give us an idea? Do you have? I don't know if you have that list in front of you or not. I can't see exactly what's on your piece of paper there, but
just notes.
Just notes. Okay. I know that there's some boat builders that I think have expressed interest in participating in this year's parade because of that, and other individuals in the maritime industry. Can you give me an idea of who we could be looking forward to?
Well, right now
maybe?
I only have one specific boat, but I've been speaking to Mr. Peel, Bob Peel.
Okay.
And he has said that hopefully he'll have 6 boats, whether it be a private boat or a commercial fishing boat, being towed.
Okay.
And he said, and of course, if the fishing starts getting better, some of those commercial boys will probably pull out. I said, no problem. So they're going to come and show their wares, basically, and tow their boats up the beach road.
Excellent.
And we'll have them positioned in the front in the order that we keep things. The American Legion leads the parade all the time with the colors, and then we go from there with the Nags Head representation and the bagpipers, and then the maritime people will fall in after that. So,
love the bagpipers.
Yeah.
Love the bagpipers.
Yeah.
It doesn't.
And they've participated for 20 plus years.
Yes.
And their unit grows and grows, and they bring their kids. Now that their kids are grown kids, so you see all ages in that group now.
That's excellent.
Yeah.
That's excellent. So I guess it's Grand Marshal wise, that's maritime boat builders, the maritime industry of the Outer Banks is kind of the overall Grand Marshal.
Yes.
And you have them up closer to the front of the parade.
They're in the front of the parade. And
excellent.
I stage from Bladen Street to Nags Head Pier for all the dignitaries, so to speak.
Okay.
That I keep in order. And then once they get up the road, it's open season. I just start lining them up and
Wherever they fall is where they fall.
Where they fall.
Excellent. Okay, so let's talk about where it starts. So you said Bladen Street. Now, that's a good description? That's where the actual parade starts. Because I know before we started recording, I remember being in the parade a couple of years ago with my former employer and thinking that there was some people already kind of on the side of the road when we started moving. So I thought we were in the parade route. And I remember gentlemen leaning out the window and saying, "We're not on the parade route yet." And I'm like, because I had started throwing stuff.
Well, see, this is what I'm down there. I said to the kids, because if they see a person, they get so excited they want to throw candy at you. And I said, wait till you get to Bladen Street before you start throwing your candies out.
Okay, just to give you an idea of Bladen Street. Now, Bladen Street is, and we're talking East Bladen Street, right there. It intersects with the Virginia Dare Trail. It's heading north. I'm looking at it on a map right now. There's a beach access right across the street. I'm trying just to give a better idea. It looks like it's maybe a little less than a quarter mile south of Tortugas. Is that
Lucky 12 is actually on the parade staging route, but yes, a little bit south of Tortugas.
And a little bit just a
and
tad
that's where
north.
the actual parade starts, and then it runs through to Driftwood. So anything south of Bladen Street is staging area.
And that is a mile from Bladen to Driftwood, is that right?
Approximately, maybe a little bit more, but mostly, yeah.
Now, the staging itself can be quite lengthy. Because I remember staging right there by the I keep saying Soundside, that's not Surfside Plaza. And remember seeing just cars and cars and floats in front of me and behind me. And I remember having time to walk back and forth and just look at it. Because, of course, riding in it, you don't get to see everything. And I was just seeing so many different types of floats and vehicles and just the individuals. And that was a lot of fun to be able to do that. But this is a long parade. Like, you show up about from start to finish. It starts at 1. When would you guess maybe this year? You said you've already had 100 sign up, and there's probably going to be more that show up.
It's probably going to be a good hour and a half, maybe, from start to finish, I would say.
Okay.
Typically,
if they move good.
If
they move good, that's one thing, because it does. And they get down to the reviewing stand, which is about 3/4 of the way along the route, and used to be where a restaurant by George was. Right in there is where the reviewing stand is. The other thing is from the time you have to realize that the parade route is an hour. When we mark the hour, we have about the same time had the very last unit in line has crossed the starting line. So when we had the first one going over, so it usually is about 2 hours from the time the first one gets across the finish line and the last one gets to the starting line.
Oh, okay.
And that works really, really well. And again, like I said, it's just with maybe 11 or 12,000 people at the parade, there are 1,500 plus in the parade. That's driving vehicles, dance clubs, bands, etc. So it's just it doesn't seem like it until you do it. And at the end of the parade, it's very good, because the Dare County citizens and attendees are always very, very appreciative, and it's nothing but positive, and you get more candy on St. Patrick's Day parade than you do on Halloween. So,
wow.
And the kids really, really, really like it.
Well, I know that my wife has already been out to buy some bags of candy for the parade.
Yeah.
She's really looking forward to it, again, as am I. And our company, we at Outer Banks this week have a float, so we're really looking forward to participating and just being a part of. And I told them, I told them at work when we first had this idea, I said, this is great for us to show ourselves and who we are as a brand and how we help with the marketing and things of different businesses and people up and down the beach, and people give us a little bit of recognition out there. I said, this is a great way to do this, because, I mean, again, this is the largest parade in the state. So it's a great way for us, and we really appreciate you all doing this year after year after year and putting in all the work. I mean, how many hours of work do you believe you put into this?
Well, not as many as you
Ask
want to
Queen
think.
Bee.
Not as many. It's a lot easier now that since we have computerized stuff, whereas years ago, everything was handwritten and mailed
Right.
out and telephoned and all that kind of stuff. A lot of paper. Now we eliminate the paper and just send invitation out. And I've pretty well have a lot of people that have participated year after year are trained.
Well,
They know what to do.
They know what to do.
It's
That's
the
great.
newbies that come along that want to ask the questions and touchy feel and that stuff. But most everybody who's participated they fall right in line and they know exactly what they're doing.
That's excellent. I was thinking a moment ago about how so many people are always in the off season, locals and things are always looking for something to do. They're always looking for somewhere to go, something to participate in, something to be a part of. And there's been some things that pop up over the winter and everything like that. But I would go out on a limb and say I believe that Mr. Kelly, Miss Marianne, y'all are the first to start the off-season to-do project. You get what I'm saying? Like, you are the originator of what's there to do in the off-season on the Outer Banks. You started that trend 34 years ago, and people have been trying to I don't want to say mimic what you're doing because you're doing a parade for crying out loud, but as far as doing off-season events and festivals and things of that nature, people have really started doing those things for the locals. But you, sir, are the one that created that. You're the one that set that standard. That's great.
We took the step, and we're very fortunate. It was well welcomed by the Outer Banks, and it grew each and every year. And everybody, we've been very, very, very fortunate. And Gino Blennis, who was the director of the Dare County Tourism Board in the mid-'80s, before the revamp that occurred in the early '90s, and Gene used to say, Mike, your parade it earmarks the beginning of the spring and the summer season. And I said, Gene, it's a little bit excessive. I don't believe it. But after about 20-some years, I said, you know what? Gino Blennis was correct. It is not Kelly's. It's the fact that the Outer Banks themselves have turned out and are having an excellent time participating in multiple levels and getting to see everybody and just getting to go out and about. And again, it's a rain or shine event. We're so happy to be such a part of the Outer Banks and its growth that it's had over the years.
Well, it's definitely been something that people have just gravitated to over
year after year.
Year after year.
From out of town, they call up and want to know when because they want to book their reservations. And so it's definitely not just a local program. People come from everywhere.
Absolutely. Now, you said that you got about 100 already that have signed up at the recording of this podcast being on a Monday. You can still go and sign up, though.
Absolutely.
And see, I remember when I signed us up here at Outer Banks this week, it felt like I had an automatic response from you right away. Now, I'm sure you probably have like an auto reply set up with a letter. No? Oh, you sent? Okay, I didn't know if you had like an auto reply because of all the entries that people might be sending in.
Well,
But
I take care of the catering as well, so I'm constantly interacting with what's going on. So
okay, so yeah, because you had a reply back to me, I want to say within like 5 to 10 minutes of me sending an application for our work, because we've partnered up with Kelly's Automotive in Mania. They're going to be pulling our float. He's the presenting sponsor of my podcast here at Outer Banks this week. So I told him, I said, Kelly, it only makes sense that you are in the Kelly's St. Patrick's Day Parade. And he laughed. He said, well, I think we can do that. So we worked it all out and we're getting our trailer all situated as we speak. So now you can go online to kellysobxcatering.com to see more details and everything like that. And if you still want to register, and there's still time to register,
absolutely,
they can go there, correct?
Yep.
Excellent. And of course, if you on Facebook, you can type in Kelly's Annual St. Patrick's Parade, and it'll pop up there, and you can see all the different things, some different pictures from the past. Oh, wait a minute. What is that? Kelly's Outer Banks Catering. Some sweet potato ham biscuits picture just popped up. Now you're making me hungry. So lots of fun, lots of things that are going to be taking place that day, and we want you to participate in the Kelly's St. Patrick's Day Parade, the 33rd Annual Kelly's St. Patrick's Day Parade. Did we leave anything out? Did we leave anything? I feel like we covered everything from start to finish there.
Just let's have a nice weather day.
Okay. Do you have a shout out? I heard you about
The one thing I like for people to remember too, the parade started in Nags Head Pier, and it still is starting in the Nags Head Pier area. But when we did that, we had the Foosball Palace, Atlantis nightclub, numerous restaurants, and small hotels that were in that area. And we did that so that we could park people up in those parking lots. And we chose again March because people weren't open yet. They didn't open until the last part of March or the beginning of April, depending when Easter was. Well, and then the parade ended. And the reason it ended where it did is two main reasons. One is Driftwood went right across the street to Kelly's. Okay, and so we had entertainment after the parade. And the other thing is that the area of Driftwood and the Beach Road was the Carolinian Hotel and the theater, the only theater on the Outer Banks, were there. And they were good parking areas so people could begin to use them. Well, those places are typically either businesses that are open. I know that the 5 or 6 restaurants and bars along the beach say it may not be their busiest day of the year, but it's their second busiest day of the year. Mm-hmm. And so this is so much contributing. And Nags Head, when Kelly's was sold, and Nags Head, one of the first calls we had was they wanted to make sure that we were still going to have the parade in Nags. We were going to have the parade and that we were going to have it in Nags Head. And so it was excellent participation from the town itself and the citizens and all the police and then also with the Outer Banks Repeaters Association.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Well, we're glad that you continued on even after you did decide to walk away from the restaurant and everything like that. We're glad that you continued on with the parade itself because it's something that's desperately needed this time of the year, especially with, again, not everybody looking for something to do. There we go. We have something to do. And just the energy and the love and everything that comes behind it is fantastic. So we really appreciate you all continuing to lead that charge to give people something to do and to celebrate St. Patrick's Day in a fun way and a safe way as well. Because I know that everybody enjoys it. It's the one thing that people look forward to specifically in the month of March. That and March Madness for me. I'm a college basketball guy. But anyway, we really appreciate y'all coming in and talking to us about this again. Got Miss Mary Ann here and Mr. Mike Kelly from the 33rd Annual Kelly's St. Patrick's Day Parade. Thank you all so much for coming. Is there anything else? Did we leave anything else out? We got everything covered?
I'm good.
No,
Thank you for having us.
Good to go. Thank you guys so much. Appreciate it. When it comes to general maintenance or major modifications on your diesel vehicle, look no further than Wanchi's Off-Road Diesel Performance in Kill Devil Hills. Master mechanic Ryan Walker developed the plan for having his own auto shop over 20 years ago, and today he owns the premium diesel performance powerhouse of the Outer Banks. To have him and his crew take a look under your hood, give him a call today at 252-715-0025 or find him on social media. Wanchi's Off-Road Diesel Performance, the diesel performance powerhouse of the Outer Banks. Yes, Wanchi's Off-Road Performance Diesel over in Kill Devil Hills. I want to thank Mike Kelly coming in one more time, talking about the Kelly St. Patrick's Day Parade, the history behind that, who he is. Fantastic individual, great family. Love me some Mike Kelly. He's done a lot of things for our community over the years, and I can't say enough nice things about him. All right, we're going to jump into some events before we wrap some things up. I always like to say, make sure you support your local high school athletics, whether it be baseball, softball, tennis, whatever's seasonal at the time. Your high schoolers and your middle schoolers, please go and support those athletics. Trivia night is going to be going on at Lost Colony Waterfront Beer Garden, Shipwrecks, Buffalo City Distillery over in Powell's Point, newcomer to the scene, Sand Tribe Tavern, Stripers, Outer Banks Distilling, and New Vines. These are all weekly events that can all be found online at OuterBanksThisWeek.com. So anything that you may have missed, or if you want to see more events that are going on, head on over to OuterBanksThisWeek.com, click on the events tab. They're all right there. Of course, the aquarium, they always have lots of things going on over there weekly as well, but you got to make sure that you make your reservations to the aquarium. That's very important. Sunday brunch taking place at Cafe Pamela Co. in Buxton from 8 until noon every Sunday. Really looking forward to trying that in a few weeks, and I'll tell you more about how I will be trying that in a few weeks. The Festival of St. Patrick going on the entire month at Lost Colony the entire month of March. Make sure you go and you hang out with Gino and Jared and the crowd over there because you're guaranteed to have a good time. Trick Fly going to be playing this Friday night, March 15th at Outer Banks Brewing Station in Killable Hills. They're going to kick off at 10:30. They are a punk alt-rock band from like the 90s, early 2000s. They play a lot of covers, do a pretty good job, so you won't regret going to see them this Friday, March 15th at 10:30 at Outer Banks Brewing Station. Running of the Leprechauns 5K and 10K is being put on by the Outer Banks Sporting Events on Saturday, March 16th, Saturday, March 16th, starting at 7 a.m. You can get more details about that on our website as well. The 33rd, as we just talked about, annual Kelly's St. Patrick's Day Parade is happening Sunday, March 17th at 1 o'clock in Nags Head. We will have a float in the parade being pulled by Kelly's Automotive in Manio. Let's see. The Hatteras Island Cancer Foundation is having their St. Patrick's Day brunch Sunday, March 17th, starting at 11 a.m. and going until 2 p.m. at the Hatteras Marlin Club. You can check out their Facebook page for more information. Just search Hatteras Island Cancer Foundation. Oh, wait a minute. What is this? Philip Forsland. I screwed this up last week. He texted me. He's like, man, you got my birthday wrong. Hey, Phil, you turned 40 on March 21st. What is that, a Thursday? Thursday, March 21st, you turned 40. You're getting old, brah. Yeah, I said it. Fight me. I was just kidding. Don't fight me. Phil's pretty cool. But no, happy early birthday to Phil. He's one of our big bosses here at Outer Banks this week. Love that guy. He turns 40 on Thursday, March 21st. Blackbeard's Revenge 100 race is taking place Saturday, March 23rd, starting in Kerala and ending at the Wreck Tiki Bar in Hatteras Village. I'm going to be there to do a podcast at the finish line, and I'm spending the night at the end on the Pamlico that night. I'm going to eat brunch the next day. Really looking forward to that. That's going to be a lot of fun. Hung out with Joel and Jess just the other day down at the Wreck. Well, it was Joel. Jess, where was she? She was like a bridal shower or something, but Joel was there and I hung out with him for a little bit, and I'm looking forward to being a part of those festivities. It's going to be a lot of fun down at the Wreck because it starts in Kerala. Like I said, this race, the Blackbeard's Revenge 100, it's going to start in Kerala and end at the Wreck. So it's going to be a good time. Lots of local churches in Dare County Parks and Rec, they're going to be doing their Easter egg hunts on March 23rd. A lot of Easter egg hunts coming up, because Easter is right around the corner. And Wanchie's Assembly of God, though, they're having their Easter egg extravaganza on Saturday, March 30th from 2 to 4 at the Home Ministry Center on E.R. Daniels Road in Wanchie. So keep that in mind. That's when Wanchie's Assembly of God is having theirs, okay? And if you're a local church here, or if you're having big Easter egg parties or anything like that, please let me know about them. Again, podcast at OuterBanksThisWeek.com. I want to talk about them. I'm talking about what I know of right now. Let's go down the road a little ways. Outer Banks Taste of the Beach is going to be taking place April 12th through the 14th, and all the details for all of these things are online at OuterBanksThisWeek.com. Go check it out right there and get all the details on how you can participate in all of these fun activities. Well, we're going to wrap things up here in just a few moments, but first let's talk to our friends over at ELS Electrical in Manio. Electricity, something I don't mix well with at all, and that's why I only trust the folks at ELS OBX. ELS OBX offers a variety of services from custom electrical installations to lighting design. ELS OBX has the experience and know-how to complete any job. They're committed to providing the highest quality lighting and electrical installations or service at affordable prices. Visit them online at elsobx.com to get a brighter idea of how shockingly awesome they are. See what I did there? ELS OBX, electrical and lighting solutions you can count on. Yeah, that was me, and electricity and I just don't mix. It's a true story. We don't mix at all. So that's why I call my friends over at elsobx.com. All right, did we forget anything? I don't think we did. I want to thank Mike Kelly for coming in one more time to talk about the St. Patrick's Day Parade. It's going to be a fun time. The theme this year, the Mariner Maritime theme that they've got, is going to be really neat to see, and I really hope everybody will turn out for it. It's the biggest St. Patrick's Day Parade in the entire state, so please come out and show it the love and support that it deserves, and look for us. Yeah, look for me. You're going to hear me before you see me. That's what people say a lot of times. They're like, oh, I know Justin's here. I can hear him, because I'm just naturally a loud person. So I'm really looking forward to doing that. Thank you again, Mike, for coming in. Next week, again, Sam and Emily Walker They're going to be stopping by to hang out with me for a little while, and they're going to be talking about their podcast, kind of Sam's news, and I really want you to go and be a founder of his news, samwalkerobxnews.com. Go be a founder, subscribe to it. I know people's like, oh, got to pay for the news. No, you're getting the exclusive. The answer to any Outer Banks news is given by Sam Walker, okay? He is the answer, the OBX answer. I'm going to start him his own like Facebook page called like OBX answer or something like that. No, I'm just kidding. But hey, he is the answer. So if you have a question, Sam Walker is the answer. Again, online at samwalkerobxnews.com. He'll be here with his wife, Emily, next week. All right, I'm out of here. Outer Banks This Week podcast, all brought to you by Kelly's Automotive in Mania. Like I've said before, if it has doors, it can be yours. He's going to be coming in and being on the podcast next month to talk about the big car show that they have coming up on, I believe, May 4th. So that's going to be a lot of fun. He is the used car king in Mania since 2010. Visit him online at kellysobxauto.com. I'm out of here. Y'all have a great, great rest of your day, rest of your week. Later.
This has been another radical edition of the Outer Banks This Week podcast. Be sure to like and subscribe, follow us on social media, and listen every Thursday for a new episode.